some nice soft music to get us started this morning. Some nice soft music to get us started this morning. I want to say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Got a great broadcast lineup for you, as I hope and I pray that we always do. I'm not important. I'm just the question asker. I'm just the guy on the other side of the microphone asking the questions. My name is Raheem, but we have my brother from another mother, but we got the same father here with us early this morning. This is Badger. Good morning, Badger. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, another beautiful and blessed day, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a top. This is Way Out Wednesday, and what we do on Wednesdays, we go way out. Let me say good morning to a few people. We got our Dante. We got what's that? Spider. We got Mario. We got Rick, Anthony, Black Door Intruder. Very interesting. Backdoor Intruder. Oh, very interesting name there. Um, and you all are with us this morning. So I want to say good morning to each and every one of you as well. Phone lines are open 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. We're talking about today, and this is Way Out Wednesday. And so we got a topic we're going to talk. Normally we don't have a topic on Wednesday, but we have one we're going to talk about this morning. And we're going to talk about the start. We're going to start talking on. We're going to transition over to other things naturally as well. But we're going to start off talking about this morning, the start of the police department, how the police department got its start. This is something that we embarked on yesterday and had a little debate on it, a little conversation on it. But I want to get started and want everybody to call in and give their input as well as to what they think. Give the input as to what they think. But Badger, from where you're sitting, from your knowledge and your expertise, how did the police department get its start?
Man, there's. So I guess it depends on the person's perception.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were night watches, there were what would be called slave patrols. And then as the North got urbanized, you know, police force changed. And then you have the sheriffs. Um, Of course, you got the like. There's. I guess it depends on which narrative you want to push.
Mm-hmm.
To
No,
me,
I just want to. What
oh,
we
I
do?
was that wasn't targeted at you. I was
Okay,
speaking in
okay,
general.
okay.
Um, because to me, there are certain things like the police force, right,
Mm-hmm.
where it's really going to boil down to what like other things, what narrative you want to push.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Brother Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
He worked in the military. He was a police officer.
Well, he was in the military as well.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought, but I didn't want to say it wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, um, and I mean, he didn't enter the police force with a slave patrol mentality.
Mm-hmm.
He entered it under a different principle that you know other police follow.
Mm-hmm.
So I when it was brought up yesterday, I'm like, you can't label all of the police the same way.
Mm-hmm. But
Just
I think what happened, and I think what where Rico was coming from, what he was saying is the origin, how it originated. I think, and hopefully he's gonna call in, because I don't want to have to speak for anybody, because certain anybody
mm,
that's able to speak for themselves. So I want him to give his viewpoint as well. And public citizen, if you're available, I want you to call in as well, because I know you had some situations going on with it, as did a few people. So yeah, I'm hoping that everybody will call in and give that, because at the end of the conversation, excuse me, and that's what we're gonna have today. We have a conversation. At the end of it, I want to make sure that our listeners have a better take as to where it got to start, who started it, what it was for, and how did it get to where it is today. And we're gonna want to go through the whole transition of it. But
so
go ahead, brother.
right. So for me, like with me looking up a lot of different things, in a nutshell, let's say I have product or property or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hire you to police it,
Okay.
to make sure, you know, it doesn't get stolen, doesn't get taken,
Uh-huh.
doesn't run away, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Voila.
Mm-hmm.
For
So
entitlement
that
throughout time.
okay. So that so you think the police department was created to protect people's property.
Hmm.
Okay. Did
Now,
that
how evil it is
now did
is
that
a whole nother story.
did that property include slaves?
Well, yeah, why would it not?
I'm asking, hey brother, I'm here. I'm the question asking, brother.
Oh no, I didn't. I'm not. I, I only recently woke up, so I apologize if I'm coming across aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, I'm waiting for coffee to kick in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if it was cotton, corn, slaves, land, a mine,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it depends on the people that decided to hire these individuals, and then the mentality of the individuals that they hired.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, like I was saying earlier, there were slave patrols, there were night watches up north, like, and then on top of that, some people consider them police, some don't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's once again, this is going to be a topic of perception.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, because
Okay.
I was looking at blogs, I was looking at, you know, the UK, what's influenced here, you know, the difference between the police force in the north and the police force in the south,
Mm-hmm.
which was also different.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's gonna, like, I was like really, I found it really interesting, you know. So and then there are blogs that say that slave patrols weren't considered police.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sort of like a branch on a tree kind of thing. I forgot the
Mm-hmm.
word, but I knew what it meant.
Okay. Okay. Let's do this. We got a few people that's actually called in. Let me go. The next one on the list was is Brother Hicks. Mr. Hicks, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, brother. How you doing?
Hey, doing well, doing well. Hicks, we're talking about it, and we said we was going to talk about this, and I want to get everybody's input because at the end of the conversation, I want to make sure that our listeners have a very uh not necessarily not even a basic, but a broader understanding as to what the police, who the police are, where they got this started. So, Mr. Hicks, if I were to ask you, what from your expertise and your life of living, how did the police department get it started? What would you say?
They were detectives of property, and we were property.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they checked property rights, and the slave was a property.
Mm-hmm.
So they were designed to catch anyone loitering off of a plantation and to transform back.
Mm-hmm.
And as it evolved, they would even go north to recruit people that fled. If they couldn't get them, they grab somebody else so they're black and bring them back.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't mean to be comical about it, but it's so obvious. It's an obvious thing. It's clear. There's no debate on it.
Mm-hmm.
Historically documented.
Mm-hmm.
The police force was developed. They had sheriffs to control the towns. You know, they had a sheriff and a deputy. But the police force evolved as slave catchers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so with that, you saying that there's two different entities. You saying the police department had one job and the sheriff had a different job. So that right there could be a part of where the divide is because people are trying to move and tie them together. Do you think that's a part of the issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the issue. They had local sheriffs and their officers. Then they hired the white poor folks that were in joining and organizing with black slaves to get rights. They gave them a job.
Mm-hmm.
They gave them a job to break up their unity that was building and
Wow.
create the whole terms of being white.
Mm-hmm.
And that at least you're white.
Wow. Wow. Curtis, and good morning, Curtis. How you doing this morning? Curtis, you there?
Morning, bro.
Morning, morning. Hit that mute button.
Yes, sir. Curtis, we're talking about the police department, man, and how the police department got its start. Curtis, what do you say to that?
What do you mean, bro? Just said it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they got this. You gotta understand a lot of the. If you just look at history and use common sense, a lot of the police they got they actual start from being overseers.
Mm-hmm.
They was overseers that was, sent out.
That's right.
To catch escaped slaves, runaway slaves. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And all they did was they federalized the overseer, gave him a badge
Mm-hmm.
so that he could operate across jurisdictional lines. Gave him a federal badge, but they wasn't nothing but former overseers. The sad reality is the brother was on point when he mentioned that they were poor. See, that was the whole overseer mentality. If you read the Willie Lynch letter, it tells you that.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you, look, in so many words, take the poor whites, take the poorest of whites, and make them overseers over the blacks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Take the fair-skinned black and make him an overseer of the immediate slave. Make the fair-skinned black, when this time comes, it can beat the slave that has to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know, like, they ain't nothing but former overseers. That's all.
So how did they get to where it is today?
I'm gonna tell you, man. I keep saying it. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna go to my grave. If God called me home today or tomorrow, God forbid. But if He does, I'll go to my grave believing this. The Policemen's Union, the FOP. I think. Oh God, I forgot what the short, the abbreviation for it. That union.
Fraternal Order of Police.
Say that again.
Fraternal Order of Police.
Yeah, the FOP. The FOP is by far the strongest union
In the
I have ever.
Mm-hmm.
They are stronger than Teamsters. All right? And the only way you're going to change it is you got to go back to the table and you got to renegotiate that contract, brother. It's clauses in that contract that should not be there. If you pay attention to human behavior, let's say 1 out of 10. Okay, I'm going to put it like this right here, then I'm going to end. I'm going to land the plane right here. I done said this before on the show. Check this out right here. Everybody on this panel. If I came to you and I said, look, fellas, I want y'all to create a drug. I want you to manufacture the drug. I want you to sell the drug at your price. I want you to then investigate yourself. I want you to then arrest yourself. I want you to then prosecute yourself. And I want you to pass sentence or pass judgment. How many of y'all go to jail, man?
Not a lot.
Nothing.
Who gonna send themselves to jail now?
Mm-hmm.
Who gonna do that, man?
Mm-hmm.
I just know who literally gonna say, okay, I'm gonna give myself 20 years. Boom, get me out of the courtroom. That ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think? If you pay real close attention, and I'll say this, and then y'all can follow it up. If you pay real close attention, most of the time when the police get jammed up on a charge, they never choose a jury trial.
Mm-hmm.
They'll choose a trial by judge.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Most judges are former police.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be wrong. I ain't always right.
So you saying basically they're all working in cahoots.
Not only are they working in cahoots, not only is a pocket of them, let me correct that, because I don't want it to come out like it's all. Not only is a pocket of them working in cahoots, but you got to understand that that pocket has placement and positions of power in every part of that organization, from the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, they are being backed by contractual agreement, by the union contract that the FOP falls under.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. Like, look at the contract. Oh, maybe one day we can get Badger to bring up standard FOP union contract and go through that thing. I don't want to say go through it line for line because that'll probably take us 7 days. But go through that thing and pick out some things that it's like, you'll see some things in there where you'd be like, hold on, that don't make no sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can hit them with a RICO.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You know what I mean? So,
okay, let me go to Badger. Badger, what's on your heart, brother?
The FOP, something I have not heard about.
Mm-hmm.
So, as most people that know me pretty well, I'm already pulling it up and looking at things. But there was looking at the evolution of things, and you know, like I was saying earlier, in the South, they were known as the Slave Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
In the North, it was more, people hired to be night watches and stuff until urbanization became more prevalent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And things changed. So, like, it's depending on what mentality, what area, what the individual police departments believed in and thought of. And now I've got something else to look into.
Mm-hmm. Because at first we started off talking about the police department, how they got their start. Then our brother Hicks came in and he said he specified, I think it was brother Hicks, might have been Curtis, said that there was a police department for one purpose and there's a sheriff department that was for another purpose, and the police department was created to actually go out there and retrieve the slaves, like slave patrol, if you will. And so that drew a light on maybe we're trying to tie in two different entities that are totally different. Let's go to Rico. Rico, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Man, I can't complain, man. I'm just thankful to see another beautiful day, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're talking about the start of the police department. Rico, how did the police department get its start?
Oh, we know how it got started. Now they did have parts of police in Great Britain and stuff that they tried to actually follow the concept over here, but they didn't want that concept. So in this research that some people may do, you have different sources that the majority will say it started from slave patrol, but then here recently you've had a few people that said we had these things called night watchmen, people that we call night watchmen. And that makes a lot of people feel good. But as you dig into what the night watchmen were people that were actually doing security, watching over the perimeters of the colony for punishment. Maybe for doing criminal acts, and the community came together and said, hey man, this was wrong what you did. Your punishment is to stand guard at nighttime and make sure nobody comes into this colony to doing this, anything bad. Pretty much a security guard. And guess what they was doing? This is how it got started in 1631. Because this is the newest research. And sometimes people find out things like that to make themselves feel better. Or maybe they just research certain things and then they don't go in depth, like the Encyclopedia Britannica or the American Bar that studies law and researches history. So this is the new concept, the night watchman. Now, we've heard of slave patrol, but we never heard of night watchman until these recent years because that makes it sound a little bit better. So they tried to associate these security guards who were getting drunk and not doing their job because they were criminals anyway. They were the bottom of the barrel, just made to do something to try to, adjust or fit, compensate for what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Now they want to make it seem like, well, that's the first example of police in the United States. These old drunk criminals that we made do security around the colony. That's new. But now if you go back, you still find out that the real police system started in Boston in the 19th century, which is like the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and you see in previous centuries, the 16th and 17th century, 17th and 18th century, they already had slave patrols in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the police started in Boston and then it went to New York. Whoop-de-whoop. They did that. That's true. But it is shown that centuries before then, like I said, the 18th and 17th centuries, they had slave patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody very educated came in yesterday and said that that was not true. And I think they got the same sources that I got. So if I'm not telling the truth about that, then you have to go online and discredit the American bar. You have to go and discredit the NAACP. You have to go and discredit the New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't talking about blogs. Now, if you go back and look at all these sources, yeah, you will see references of night watchmen that recently came into existence or being associated with this process in 1631. But as we all know, like I said, that failed. It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the basis or the purpose of these police departments, like Badger said earlier, I was listening, was to go and recover property, protect property. And we know what the most valuable property was back then.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't the most valuable property, then America wouldn't be what it was. So the evolution of those things, if you are wanting to be a policeman right now and you are a person of color or a Native American and you find it hard to fit in, it's because it wasn't meant for you to be one. It was meant for that to be something that caught your ancestors in the past and kept them in order on behalf of rich white people.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, Rico, am I hearing you in a certain way say also that there was a difference in the police, the government, not the police, the sheriff, and the slave patrol, or were they interwoven together?
They were the same. It was just the North wasn't more about slave patrol, and the South was all about slave patrol.
Mm-hmm.
And now what has happened, it evolved and spread across the United States, and that mindset that the slave patrol was built on has pretty much infiltrated the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
That's more the direction. So if you go and start researching policing in America, you will start seeing that the policing in America falls more in line with the slave patrol policing than that they're trying to associate with night watchmen or the police of Boston and New York.
Okay.
And that's documented.
And see, and what's amazing is we're talking about slaves and slave patrol. And a lot of time when people say something about slavery and stuff like that, they immediately think of the South. But these are things that was happening up north, in New York and in Boston and northern states. It's amazing how that is working, because what happened a lot of times is a lot of the slaves, what they would do, they would either try to make their way to Canada or somewhere up north so they could find their freedom. And they started, and from what this conversation is bringing forth, is they started entities up north. So when someone did try to run or run to their freedom and go up north, they had people in place to grab them and bring them back. Wow. Let's go to Tucson. Tucson, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Singing in the rain.
Yes.
Doing all right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Talk to me, Tucson, about, we talking about the police department, how the police got started, how did they get it started, the origins of it. What, from your expertise, Tucson, talk to me, man. What do you think it came?
Well, it's already, I believe that it's already said where it originated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any expertise, but I know how it seems like they operate.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same foundation. Mm-hmm. Everything has a foundation.
Okay.
And they build on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, it's hard to get uproot. You know how Walmart does? Walmart, if they buy property that they have a building already that exists. They they dig in the ground, take all the concrete and all the foundation up and put their own
Mm.
and start building the Walmart that they desire.
Okay.
You got to uproot what's
Mm.
already there before you start correcting.
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't want to do is uproot the old mentality that we gonna go get them folks and take them in.
Mm.
Them folks,
Them folks.
wherever them folks are.
Mm-hmm.
And see, there's another thing, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't, we don't want to say, just like there's a teaching, there's a block to teach history, true history, in our schools,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to get to the foundation of corruption, injustice. There's a root that's there. The old mentality, the old men. I don't want to call a certain, but everybody know it ain't nobody stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to play you stupid.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
When you got a leader of what we call the most powerful nation in the world says out of his mouth and everybody applaud him. Back in the day, we used to treat them rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
So they applauded that. So when we talk about the police force, look at how they operated in two different incidents, and I got about 2 more seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Lives Matter and the insurrection.
Mm.
You had a full force, and then you had some opening the doors for people to come in.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Let me go back to Badger. Badger, what's on your heart, brother?
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, uh, any time there's people hired to protect something, it's going to be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if people were hired to, um, as a slave patrol, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's no denying that.
Yeah.
And night watchmen were most of the time criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to disagree with that either.
So why would you get? And I'm I'm throwing this out there, and it's different. Why also the same? Why would I go and get Jesse James, notorious bank robber, and different things that he did, or murder or whatever, to be the police and to guard my banks? Why would I do that? When the very person that's going to rob my bank and have a desire and a driving force to rob my bank, why would I go hire that person? Okay, I need you to take care, watch out for more money now. I'm gonna pay you. Watch out for more money. Badger, why would I do that?
Dude, if you figure that out, let me know, because to me, all that sounds stupid.
Yeah, and that's what it's saying, because you're saying that these people were already criminals. They already had a past or criminal activity, but you want
Yeah,
them to enforce the law. I mean,
I don't understand why they'd want them to like watch over things when they're a criminal background.
yeah.
Well, hell, I mean, back then,
But
sneezing the wrong way probably would have got you in trouble.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, no, I mean, this country was founded on the backs of slaves and poor folk. Still is.
mm-hmm,
So arguing that doesn't make no sense.
mm-hmm.
I
Exactly,
know
exactly.
what the police force is trying to accomplish today,
Is it all
so
is it all is it a counter of what it was created to do? What it's trying to do today? Has it revolved, or evolved
so
in any kind of way?
I want to say yes.
Mhm.
However, we still have the evil human beings that are in those positions that are getting the job to do that, that are hateful.
Mm-hmm.
They don't deserve to have a badge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I mean, once again, look at people like Bishop that's in the force
Mm-hmm.
or that was in the force. Like, and then we have Captain Dennis that is working on training a police department. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so to me, if it was that evil, neither one of them would have anything to do with it. So
Mm-hmm.
just like anything else, there are evil people in it. Now, I do think that the cops don't need to be so scared to call out the ones that are doing that kind of stuff and not be so fearful about it.
And that could be a big part of the problem right there. That could be a huge part of the
So
problem. Go ahead, Tucson.
no, I was taking care of some things. Go ahead. I just didn't have my phone on me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hey,
Let's go to Hicks,
hey,
brother
Rodney.
Hicks. Curtis, you got something?
Yeah, just for clarity, because some historical data, to the James family, we do not mean to disrespect y'all heritage, because you do know why Jesse James was robbing them banks and robbing them trains, right?
Was it?
We all know why he was doing it, right?
No. Why was he doing it?
Yes.
Okay, so the story. Go ahead, Sebastian. You want to tell it?
No, that was brother. That was Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, you want to tell the story?
Oh,
I'm sorry. No, he's good. I'm sorry. I know where he's going. I'll listen to him. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Curtis.
if I'm not mistaken, the story is, in all reality, Jesse James became what we know of today as the first American Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was the federal government they came and they wanted his land. They were planning on running the land he owned. That was where they was the trains. They was going to run train tracks through it. His daddy and his mama did not want that because they were basically, in so many words, they were environmentalists and they were making money off of their land. The government did not want to pay them. So what the government did was took the land, what we call today as eminent domain. They came in and took the land from the James family and then did not even pay them for the land that they took.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesse and his brothers watched their family's demise because that's how they was making the bulk of their money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided, you know what, y'all gonna take from us, we gonna take from y'all. And that's what really brought about the whole thing of him robbing banks and robbing stage coaches. Now, what that created, I can't speak on. I can't speak on if he was a monster or what, but according to historical data, now I don't know if it's true or if it's false. It could be false. According to the real story, that was all because the federal government had took their land.
Mm-hmm. You got a bear over there in the corner. Got a bear over there in that corner. If you sleep, you might want to leave him alone. Go ahead, Mr. Hicks.
Yeah, and the banks they robbed, they would go in and grab the deeds for the other home. Anyone else had a home and had a debt with the bank, they would grab them and destroy them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is that concept of the Robin Hood, steal from the rich and give to the poor. There really is. Go ahead, Rico.
Was his finished?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'm finished.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, man, it really goes to show you how people can flip the narrative. You know, here it is throughout history. Even us, falling for the storyline that they don't fed us. Jesse James is the bad guy. And the good guys had to take him down.
Yep.
The same type of good guys that take mug shots and pictures of black people and use them for target practice, and then even have brainwashed black cops sitting up there saying, this ain't racism, these are just pictures of criminals. Trying to fit in. Remember what Captain D said, either you're going to choose black or you're going to choose blue?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how they got started. Well, where did the blue come from? So the point that was made from that was, man, imagine how hard it is for a black man that really believes in protecting and serving.
Mm-hmm.
That's out here to try to actually do the right thing and protect people. I mean, just think about those black people, those black men and women that go into the police force that actually try to do what the police is designed to do, and then they find out that culture still exists. It ain't blue, but it's lily white.
Mm-hmm.
It's so white that we intentionally have y'all shooting black people on the mug shots. Symbolic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think about it? Why wouldn't they put a white person up there? Oh, it has psychological impact, reason behind it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the question was asked. You know, I was glad he brought up Bishop because, you know, I felt like that was a little slick. So you saying Bishop was a slave catcher? Well, I don't think we call them slave catchers now, but I think Bishop may have been one of them people that went into a department looking to do the right things, not knowing that he was actually working for a department that was founded in something that didn't benefit his best interest as a black man. And sometimes we tend to participate in plenty of things that don't benefit black people, and they might be actually supported by racist white people, like Planned Parenthood. Y'all know how many David Dukes supported that, and Margaret Sanger. We know about how their history and racism, white supremacy, population control, eugenics.
And one of the things too, Rico, if people took time to research a lot of the companies that they support, if they just took time to research some of the companies that they support, they will be real shocked as to what their money is going towards.
Very surprised. Very surprised. I mean, you know, think how shocking it was for those people to go in behind those police in Miami and see a mugshot of his brother being used as target practice. Oh, they got in big trouble. With a picture of the guys in Alabama doing the little racist sign. All these little groups, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's like, man, sometimes, man, you know, people have agendas. I don't know what it is. You know, it seems like some people have agendas. You know, I'm still leery about a lot of people that come on this show because of the other people that they interact with away from this show. Is mighty contradictory to, you know, what they stand for. But, you know, we have to be more understanding and reasonable. That, like Donald said, a lot of things start from a foundation or a root. And if you don't root that element out that it was based on, then it's going to stay there. You will never get rid of that root. And if we never understand where policing in the South started and how it migrated to across the United States as just a culture within the police departments based on race, then even the black police won't realize it. Even the public won't realize it. Then you'll have people coming on like they did yesterday telling me that I'm a lie, that I was wrong, and denying everything that is based. I mean, the same Google they use, I use.
Wow. Badger, talk to me, brother. What's on your heart?
Yeah, it's like what I've said many times. Misdirections, toxic teachings. I mean, it's been here since America began and before. So, I mean, if police force is such an issue, then let's get rid of them. Let's police our own communities.
And I've heard that said before, Badger. But let me ask you this question. I'm leaning on your expertise on this. Is it really that easy? Where we are right now in this day and time, is it really that easy to just say we're gonna get rid of all the police, we're gonna get rid of all the police, we're gonna get rid of all the law enforcement, and we're gonna start over? Where do you start? What will be that starting point?
Well, in my opinion, some people might not like this. Need to own up for your own crap. Need to acknowledge when you have issues and actually get involved. If you see a woman or a child or even a man being abused or beat up and stuff, stop it. So the thing I always find interesting is there are many, many things in America that have a very evil start.
Mm-hmm.
And want to point this out, make sure it's part of history and things like that. Yet when a person is in need of help, those are the same orgs that they're going to call for help.
Mm-hmm. And that goes to my point as well, because you say get rid of the police department, get the sheriffs and all these people and start over. What in that process, because there will be a downtime between this and starting the new, there will be a downtime. What is that will even go back and this is not a good example, but this will really go back to the Wild Wild West days. And I say it's not a good example because even in that time they had the sheriffs and the deputies and different things like that. So, you still had that entity there. But if you have nothing there in place, what's going to stop the quote unquote evil people from being evil and doing the things that they want to do if you have nothing in place?
I mean, if the enforcement of keeping those evil people at bay are also evil, I mean, which is it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are so many laws in place that we, the American people, if we actually got together and quit just um ignoring things,
Mm-hmm.
that we could get a lot more things handled and taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a semi-corrupt system. I mean, y'all know my story of, I mean, even the healthcare system took 5 years for us to figure out how to get my wife health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other people I know that's struggling with all of it and struggling with police officers, struggling with all kinds of things. One day you can get pulled over and it's a very nice person that's very understanding and it don't matter who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Mm-hmm.
next day you get pulled over and the person is an absolute a-hole and it don't matter. Or you get pulled over and it's a racist. Or, I mean, it's the individuals who are in certain positions that follow certain teachings that ruin it for other people.
Mm-hmm. I want to say good morning to Lynn. Lynn said, first said good morning to you. It also said, I think we need to, let me see, I'm trying to read. I think we need to open back up the mental health hospital. I think we need to open back up the mental health hospital. And that could help because there's a lot of things. We could have a conversation here probably next week about mental health and what lies that thin line between mental health and just acting out. Rico, public citizen, Paul is wrote this right here. Want to read that for me?
Oh yeah, I read it. It's the claim that policing is originated in slave patrols. All policing has existed as long as people have.
Okay. Here's the second part of what he said there, Rico.
Oh, that's mine. We're trying
Oh,
to
that's yours.
find
Okay.
out where the untruth is. You said I made in my comment yesterday.
Okay.
And that is what it's based on. It's based on the situation we were talking about going on in America. We're not talking about policing as long as people have existed. We're talking about this American system of policing and the black mug shots and the Ahmaud Arbery's. We ain't just talking, we talking about the judicial system that says, you know what, don't arrest these guys. They some good fellas. Yeah, we got a video of them killing this black man in the street jogging and making all these accusations of him being a thief and this and that. We talking about that policing. We ain't talking about policing in Great Britain. We ain't talking about policing in Canada. We talking about the police that shot Philando Castile in America. We talking about American police throughout America, and what has infected the northern police system. See, he came in a little late, so we went ahead and addressed the little 1631 night watchman, the night watchman, top flight security. If you want to associate top flight security with slave patrols or the type of, see, the slave patrols are more related to what police do right now, if you think about it. But top flight security with a bunch of drunks and criminals that wasn't doing their job, that ain't the same as the police right now. The police right now is catching and killing people. Some Not those in Uvalde though. They don't do it. They do it after everybody else done got killed.
Exactly. Let me go to Curtis. And Curtis is a part of this. A part of what we're talking about today is a part of this. And you help me understand this, man, because I'm not really clear on it. But is a part of this the way that even the Constitution itself is written that we are like 1/3 of a human being and different things and that I don't know if they've ever went in and amended that. But Curtis, what do you say to that?
Okay, my phone was switching from my speaker to my car. Now, what was your question again?
Do you think that I think we go 3/5? Do you think that a part of this is how the Constitution is written, that we're 3/5 of a human being, and they don't look at us as being an equal person, and that's why they go out and do the things that they do and treat us in the way that they do? Do you think that has a part to do with it?
Talking about the 3/5 clause, absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely. I believe that there are pockets in society, in American society, that actually stand on that.
Mm-hmm.
That actually believes that, just like those folks believe that Trump was cheated out of an election.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe that there's people will find the most people are ignorant of common sense. They have a true common sense meter that only scales in the direction of ignorance. So, of course, there are people that are stand on that, just like there are people that still to this day believe that Jesus Christ was a racist. And they use that ideology as a means to justify their own racism. There are people that believe that Genesis 9:27, I think it's 9:27, I could be wrong, but I think it's 9:27, is the direct word of God that justifies slavery. And that justifies the form of slavery that America has. See that? What nobody wants to talk about is the style of slavery that America has. They'll be real quick. You'll hear proponents. You'll hear people who are pro-slavery. You'll hear them say things like, "Well, slavery been on this world since blah blah blah." And the Egyptians had slaves and blacks owned slaves and da 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 da. Okay. But you better look at the style of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
What they did to the Africans. I heard, you know what? I heard a black dude on Joe Rogan yesterday said that he didn't believe that none of the slaves were brought here from Africa. See, there's some people, man, they so smart that they dumb, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're so educated by books that they become ignorant. Mm-hmm. Because now, because you got all this education, you have let go the simple reality of common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole sense that should be common is based off of what you have been educated on by another man. So, I mean, you know, yeah, you got those who think the 3/5 clause is an appropriate clause, and it doesn't help that they don't like to talk about it, but you have an amendment. I can't remember which one it is, but do you know that you have an amendment in the Constitution that realistically says that you have an amendment in the Constitution right now that realistically says that in all reality, slavery is not over, because you cannot amend the prior amendment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a documentary that all of us, we should have a Zoom and we should watch it. I just watched it about 2 weeks ago. I think it's called We Are, but it's done by a black lawyer, this black Harvard-educated lawyer, and he breaks down the whole whole entire slavery. He breaks it down from a litigious perspective.
Hey Curtis,
And then he showed
Curtis, is that the one where he started off talking and he's on a stage?
yes, with
Yeah.
the glasses.
Yeah. I saw half of that. I didn't see the end part of it. And to make sure that we together on the same, he was talking to a Klan member, and the Klan member had his rebel flag there, and he was talking about how that's not a part of this, and it's not. And he stopped talking to the guy. He said, "Look, I can't talk to that because the guy got his mind made up. He's already convinced that regardless of what logic I tell him, that's the same. That's the same one."
That's the same one you're talking about when he was talking to the guy in Charleston.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then he took you.
Mm-hmm.
He took us to the oak tree.
Yep.
Where blacks were made to either follow or die.
Yeah. I saw half of that. I got to go back and finish it. My wife saw the whole thing, man, and she told me, she said I got to go back and finish it. But I saw to the midway point. I got to look at the rest of it. But yeah, I did see that. Absolutely.
What is that, on Netflix or Prime Video? What?
Netflix. It's on Netflix. Mm-hmm.
Netflix.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, you definitely check that out, man. I would like to get all this together, man. And
what's the name of it again?
What's the name of it, Curtis? When We Were, or something like that. I can't remember the actual name of it.
Yeah, When We Were, or yeah, When We Were. It's something like that. When We Were, it's something we were.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's When We Were, but it is a powerful piece.
Yeah.
It is not. Tell the truth, Ryan. It is not a biased opinion. He do not lay it out. You know, most documentaries, they lay it out so that you can, okay, we want you to think this way.
Yes.
Nah.
Want you to side with him.
We went by the law and what was written and what the facts are. Here's what happened. Blah, blah, blah. You make the choice. It is a powerful piece, y'all.
It is.
Powerful piece.
Absolutely. Let me go to we have Paul with us this morning. Cassandra, we have Cassandra coming to you next. Paul, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Pretty good. It's real early here, so
yeah.
I heard some of the conversation. So I did some research yesterday, and like some of the countries, first of all, it's really hard to get data on police brutality in America. For various reasons, we know that police departments aren't very open about what they do. That's definitely a police reform that needs to happen. But around the world, it looks like some of the countries that have the worst police brutality are Brazil, Iraq, Iran, Philippines, Jamaica. So, and this reinforces something I've heard before, and the United States, of course. Is that the countries that have the worst violence have the worst income inequality. So there's a big gap between the rich and the poor, just as it is here. And, so when you're talking about police, yeah, they do. A big part of their role is to protect property rights. So, and so that is an issue. Now, the reason I sort of object to this narrative that police departments are founded originated in slave patrols. Well, yes, there's evidence that in the South that's true. Is that really what does that narrative actually do? Because let's think about this. Police have existed since people have been on Earth, right? We've always appointed some people to keep the peace, protect property, and so forth. Whether you're in a small village in Europe, small village in anywhere, right? So are we trying? In my mind, we're trying to heal this sense of distrust that exists between different communities. So we're walking around saying, oh, the police are systemically racist, and you know what? They're originated in slave patrols. What is that going to do to people? I mean, what does that do to our mentality? We're not going to trust them, and we're going to hate them even more. I've been brutalized by police when I was younger. I get it.
Paul, let me ask you a question,
brother. Let me just start. Can I finish my sentence?
Yeah.
Police lie. Police lie. I know that. Police brutalize people. I get all that. But my point is that this narrative is partially true, but it's not completely true. And I think it paints a bad picture of the reality.
Okay, well, let me say this to you. I'll let you finish your thought, but let me say this
Wait,
to you. Hold on. Let me say this to you right here. That's almost like that narrative is almost like what they're trying to do in Badger State of Texas right now. They're trying to change the narrative about even about slavery. Say that they're involuntary, or they got some kind of fancy word that they're trying to take the whole narrative of slave off the books. They don't want to teach that because what they say it's going to do is going to disrupt or hurt or make certain individuals feel bad. Well, if the truth gonna make you feel bad, then maybe you need to deal with the truth so you can come to a reality as to where you are, what you're dealing with. Now, you say that there's always been a police force. Not saying anything because you have your opinion, and I certainly respect your right to have your opinion, but everything have to have a starting point. Everything have to have a start. And I love the NBA. I love the NBA, but there was a time the NBA was not here. It had to have a starting point. It had to go through the transition to become what it is today. And so the police department, you can't say that there's always been a police department because everything have to have a starting point. They have to have a reason for that starting point. Let me go to Cassandra. Cassandra, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Cassandra, we're talking about the police department and how it got it started. Some say it started with our slave patrol and different things like that. Other people have a different viewpoint. What's your view, Cassandra?
Yeah, as far as I've seen, it started as the police patrols. Actually, most of the people at that time in the U.S. were people that were racist. They started with racist people, not so much trying to protect and serve, but to capture, oppress, and suppress a certain group of people. So we can like sort of trim it the way we want because the U.S. always we're good at that. We're good at that at making it look like I have no problem with the police. Even the Bible talks about those that have authority over you, that we should, respect them, whatever. I have no problem with that. But that small fraction that goes outside the box, this might not be a good one for me because that's how I lost my nephew.
Wow.
I literally watched on television them brutalize my nephew and kill him. A schizophrenic kid that had done nothing to deserve to be treated the way he was. So for me, this may not be a good topic, and I'll probably jump off because this is going to be real heated for me. I love the police. We need them in place, but don't nobody BS me about what they came from, where they came from, because most of especially in the South, most of the police in the South for many years were Klan members and white supremacists. Bottom line, point blank.
Wow. You start talking to me, brother.
Sometimes we don't want to go deeper in the ground or we like to scratch the surface of things because the more you try to dig up, and I'm still going to stay right where I started, the more you try to dig up the true foundation of it, find out what's buried underneath. And most of I'll be back. Most of our youth, they say we don't need to go back way over there. We don't need to bring that back up. We don't need to do that. Okay, that's good. But you'll never find out what's underneath the surface, and you continue to find out that you have ancestors that have reaped the benefits of what was done prior to you getting here. See, there are some people that are now in positions based on corruption, on the misuse or the mishandling or dealing with people unjustly. And I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I'm saying we scratch the surface, because when we start really finding out how things arrive, we say, "Oh, that's too much." I done found out. Oh no! Now you're talking about my great grandfather. He couldn't have been that evil.
Yeah.
Well, hell, he got the picture of them feeding alligators, children to alligators. That's his picture. He right there.
Yeah.
You're looking at it. And here he is with a badge on.
Wow.
But now he's 100 years later, he's a judge. And the picture that you see is his great grandfather. If that makes any sense. What I'm trying to say, because I might not clearly be saying what I'm saying, but I know what I'm talking about. Because I remember them telling my grandfather, "We come and get you tonight." Because you won't shut your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And just for the record, I know y'all was asking about the name of that documentary is "Who We Are: A Chronicle of Racism in America." Who We Are: A Chronicle of Racism in America. That's the name of that documentary. That like I say, I recommend you all go take a look at. Badger, what's on your heart? Badger?
Sitting here weighing everything. Because I understand the finding where it came from. Because I do that all the time. And there is so much in this, including, we pulled out the Constitution, independence and all that stuff. And what I see is the folks in power putting other folks in power to control property. What was done to my ancestors and things like that for land. And it was reminding me of a conversation I had the other night where I actually lost my temper with this lady because of some of the things that she was saying about Native Americans and black people. And it's those toxic teachings are still here. There's individuals with that toxic teaching in every single position. And the farther back I looked to figure out where it all stemmed from and where it started from, just like people did with the police force in America, talking about slave patrols and things like that. It's I was even starting to dig into, where that came from. Why was it started? Who started it? And who were the main people that supported it and were behind it? And I wasn't liking what I was finding. Because unfortunately, it started from people misusing the Bible. So, go ahead.
No, I just want to say, man, I want to stay. I want to stay in a certain lane right now. I want to stay in a certain lane because if we don't, we're going to veer off, and the root's going to take us in a whole lot of different areas. And I understand what you're saying and what you're saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but at the same time, I want to stay on this whole. I want to stay on the how do we get to this point and dealing with the police department. And
that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that were on those patrols were taught that this was acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Where did those teachings come from? And why are they still around today? So we were talking about the police force, right?
Yeah, but see that
stems from a
goes into the
teaching.
evil. That goes into the evil of man, though.
Where do you think racism comes from?
Absolutely, but I'm saying though, you know, if we veer off with that, that's gonna open up. My thing is that's gonna open up a whole nother conversation, and we, you know.
Well, how can we talk about slave patrols and not this? Because it stems from the same thing.
It's another leg of it. It is another leg of it. It's another leg. But my thing, let me go to Goddess. Goddess, good morning. How you doing this morning? Goddess, you there?
I'm here.
Goddess? Okay. Let's go to we have Ibrahim. Ibrahim, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Bonjour, monsieur. Comment allez-vous? Allez-vous, family?
Yeah. Chicken, egg, and biscuits to you too, brother. Chicken, egg, and biscuits to you too, brother. Look, chicken, egg, and biscuits to you too, brother. Good morning. Put some molasses on my biscuit. But Ibrahim, we're talking about the police and the history of the police department. Where did they start? Where did they get? What did they originate? And our badge was just bringing something very, very unique to the conversation but my thing is I want to kind of stay on this here, and he's absolutely right in what he said, because all that's a part of the puzzle, but we got to deal with one piece at a time. And like I said yesterday, in order to take the apples off the tree, you got to pull one apple down at a time, and then before you know it, you know, there's no more apples on the tree, but you got to pull one at a time. And that's all I was saying about it. Not saying that he was wrong, because he was absolutely right in what he was saying. But back to you, Ibrahim. How did the police department get this started?
And I'm here.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Okay. Ibrahim?
Oh,
Ibrahim. Okay, I'm gonna mute both. I'm gonna mute both of y'all. I'm gonna mute both of y'all, because y'all ain't got nothing to do. They ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about today. Y'all got your own thing going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know how far you want to go back in America, and rightly so. The police patrol started in America as tax, you know, to collect tax on the Appalachians, the Germans. You know, in the Appalachians, the people that were making liquor, they didn't want to be taxed, even though the Revolution in America was taxed, no taxation without representation. Then the American colonies turned the country, found themselves, they had to tax. But anyway, and it's mentioned about the slave patrols, you know, about returning the slaves back to the southern states, which was legal in the 1700s and everything. And then we see that the makeup of our police force is some of that. It's about capture. It's after the fact. It's not about prevention. It's about capture and you know, and incarceration. You know, so I kind of agree with that. I didn't hear the whole conversation. I called it the tail end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Goddess, what's on your heart, sis?
I'm just glad that we're able to get a chance to speak on this. The slave patrol basically was called the Paddy Patrol. As Ibrahim said, it started back in slavery, and it was to catch the slaves coming back, leaving the South, because the whites were too lazy to do their own crops, so that's why they had slaves. Let's just put it real out here. They always want to call us lazy, but they was too lazy to pull their own crops, so they had slaves to do it. And so due to the wealth, and they wanted to keep their wealth, they invented the Paddy Patrol, and that's how they came up with patrolmen, the actual patrolmen, and so that's how you come with the police department patrol, the sheriff patrol. That's how they started doing it. Well, let's go a little bit deeper and keep going on. You had the COINTELPRO, you had the FBI, you had the CIA. Well, they came in, they said, hey, since then when the Ku Klux Klan was coming, they started to infiltrate all these positionings, judges. They started infiltrating the fact of, because see, they were already in those positions back in the 1700s. So they really started infiltrating certain positions within CIA, moving them up to different areas. See, and that's how a lot of things began to start. You know, the bombings, all these things became from the slave patrol, and all they did was extend it. And if you even want to go back further than that, you can go, and they don't even talk about this. This is what's weird and crazy. They talk about Hitler. We can go all the way back to you. They talk about Hitler, but what they don't talk about is Leopold. Mm-hmm. They don't talk about Leopold, who killed 10,000 over, I don't know how many millions. It's like some aggressive millions of Africans in the Congo, and started naming them and killing them because they wouldn't. Say that again, Ibrahim.
They was cutting off their arms and hands and foots and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right, because they wouldn't. Well, I don't know what commodity at the time that they was digging, but it was some type of
one at a time.
Rubber. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. It was rubber. So, but they won't even talk about Leopold. You know why they don't talk about Leopold? Because they want to keep their Jewish thing going on. They don't want to talk about Leopold because he was way worse than Hitler.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Let me go to Paul. Paul, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah. I kind of said what I want to say about the patrols and the police and everything. I mean, I guess my question to you guys who think that's really important to talk about is what's the utility of that? What's the benefit of that? So you know, and like the video that was all over the news, and the one I posted in the chat that you guys were talking about, that little kid in St. Paul, he's like 3 years old, little black kid, hitting the cops and calling them the B word. 2 black cops, by the way. I mean, where did he get that? Where did he get that mentality that the police are not just an enemy, but you know, but that's and people in the community were laughing about it and everything. I mean, like, do the police have a problem with racism? Clearly, but if we're gonna harp or focus on one part of the history, then I think you're going to end up with more situations like that, more violence by police, more chaos. That's just how I feel about it. So
okay. Let me ask you a question, Paul. Let me ask you a question real quickly, and I know you're very articulate enough to be able to answer this question. Who set that table? Who set that table in that little child? We talk about the little child, that little baby. I call him a little baby that had that idea or that mentality. Who set the table that he's eating from right now? Because you know you're not gonna just go up to anybody and say this and say the things that he was saying without having some experience or some kind of knowledge as to where it came from or a foundation. So my question is, who set the table for him to feel that way? Naturally, it can't be because the police has always been so good to him or treated him so good and took him to the Six Flags and they just had a joyful, great time. What happened to make him feel that way? Who set the table?
Who set the table?
Yes.
Who set the table? Well, I mean, I'm not. My kind of, I guess, philosophy on that is, look, I think that America has to take responsibility for what they've done to Black communities. I mean, it's kind of like you broke it, you bought it, you need to fix it now. I get that. But, I mean, as part of fixing it, creating more distrust, that's my issue. I'm not saying that there's no responsibility of it. America absolutely has a responsibility, but where's the progress? Where are we making progress on that? Yes, there is some progress. The poverty rate for Blacks in the 50s was up to like 60%. It's now it's around 20% now. That's an improvement. It's still too bad. It's still too high, but that's how I feel. Okay, so I'm not saying don't talk about history. I'm not saying, don't misconstrue me. I'm just saying when the narrative is, oh, police are equivalent to slave catchers, come on, that's not fair, and that's not constructive. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but is there any truth in that? Is there any truth in it?
Is there any truth that they're slave catchers?
That started off that way, that they started off as slave catchers.
Yes, there is some truth to that. I'm not denying that there's some truth to that. I'm just saying that where are we focusing our energy?
So basically, just for the clarity of myself, I got Curtis, he wanted to say something, Rico wanted to say something as well. But just for my clarity, are you God want to say something as well? But just for my clarity, hold on, everybody, hold on. I hear you, Ibrahim. But just for my clarity, clarity for me, and this is for me. Are you saying that we should disregard that truth? Are you saying that we should totally take that truth off the table, disregard it, and act as if it never happened, so we can have a kumbaya moment?
I'm not saying that. No,
I'm just asking a question, bro.
We need to focus on improving things. And that is, like constructive changes, like, getting rid of rules that allow police to, brutalize people and get away with it scot-free.
Johnny walked into the room. I'm not going to say myself. I'm going to use myself for a second. Johnny walked into a room, and he have a knife stuck 8-9 inches in his back. Knife is stuck in his back. He turned around and said, man, help me, man. And if I go to Johnny, I say, okay, Johnny, I'm going to pull this knife out 2 inches. Now you're going about your head. I'm going to pull it out 2 inches. Did I help Johnny?
You're asking me if you helped Johnny?
Yes.
No. And I've said that the condition, this is what one thing Captain Dennis said on Saturday when we were talking, is the condition of some Black communities is a direct result of the actions of, basically white supremacist America. And that's beyond dispute, beyond argument.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, I'm saying let's fix it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. You're more solution based, and you don't want to deal with the situation. You're more solution based. Okay. I can go with that. Curtis, you wanted to say something. Rico, got everybody wanted to say something. So I'm gonna make my circle. But Curtis was the first one that said something about when he wanted to speak. So go ahead, Curtis.
First and foremost, let me say this. Dr. King made a very, very, very important quote. First and foremost, Dr. King said, we will not read words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Right? That's number one. Number two, the police department has become by nature an extremely aggressive force. You cannot battle this aggression with a serious nature of pacifism or being passive. The time is going to come where that human being or that culture who is passive is going to become aggressive, because that is the only thing that's understood. Now, to actually talk about a solutions-based idea or method and not talk about or whitewash, Paul, what it sounds like you're doing is it sounds like you're whitewashing. And that is the most absurd thing to do, because You are taking out the root cause of why communities are what they are. And if you are one of those people that know what it feels like to have a 357 Magnum stuffed in your mouth in front of little black kids that look like you, what is it? What would have happened if one of them kids would have dropped the soda? I would have lost my life for nothing, for going in the store, for nothing. So if you really want to be solutions-based, the biggest thing to do is to answer the question why before you even pose the solution. I noticed that you said America has a problem. America don't have no problem. It is a particular group, culture, and sect that has a problem. Let's just be real and be honest, man. Stop all this passive whitewashing what has been done, what appears to be going on right now, and what the future looks like it's going to be whole. Let's stop trying to whitewash that. You know, we got people who saying, oh, well, I don't want critical race theory taught because I don't want these kids to believe that their forefathers did some heinous stuff. But you're trying to whitewash it and say, I don't want them to believe that all white folk think like this. Well, if you're teaching the history, you should be teaching. Okay, look, here's what it was. We have changed, but here's what it was. The truth of the matter is this. Just teaching the truth, kids can handle it. They can take it. They can take it better than a lie.
Good deal. Good deal.
Well, here's my thing, Raheem, and I'll just end like this. Why are people so scared to tell the truth? What will they stand to lose if they tell the truth? And that's what I think this whole thing is about.
And my thing, and I want to say this right here, in all fairness, I appreciate everybody that's here, because what is allowing us to do at this moment is allowing us to have the dialogue. It's allowing us to talk about it openly and honestly, and everybody's being honest with who they are and where they are. And that, to me, that's a beautiful thing. This is a start. I think this is a beautiful start, because the dialogue is there, the conversation is there, and we're having it. And so that's why I'm very appreciative of everyone that's here. And the phone lines are open. You can actually be a part of the conversation as well. Give us a call, 924-508-924-3521, 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We love to have your input as well. Rico, you was next on the poll, brother. What's going on?
Yeah, man. You know, I was the one made the comment, and it's mighty funny. Yesterday it went from being not true to partially true. Yesterday it was not true, matter of factly. Now today it's partially true. And then I started hearing that we talking about police in Brazil and Iraq. Now we talking about American police. We talking about them police in Michigan that had the black mug shots. We talking about the policeman that killed Philando Castile in Minnesota. We talking about the McMichaels. We talking about the policeman that killed Walter Scott, shot him in his back, and somebody just happened to see him and filmed it. Had they not filmed it, he wouldn't have got off. We talking about the sentencing, the disparaging sentences, how the difference in the guidelines. We talking about that in America. And then we saying, well, we want to solve the problem. Well, I have never seen nobody solve a problem that they don't even realize, acknowledge that the problem is there. Imagine somebody getting diabetes and they don't know how they got diabetes, so they continue to do the things that got them diabetes. And they don't want to acknowledge the thing that started that diabetes or that cancer or that heart disease. You know, I relate the slave patrol to cigarettes. You ever seen somebody with lung cancer keep on smoking them cigarettes? They ain't addressing what the problem is. See, we're trying to figure out why they using mug shots of black people. Why is it that these people feel like it's cool to do these type of things? You know, we ain't gonna distract it with the church. We're gonna hit it dead on the head with what it was. It was rich people who had investments that they wanted to make sure that investment was secure. And the investment was people, black people. And they paid other people to make sure they could protect those investments. These were rich white investors. That was the job. And that's how it got started. Patrolling, making sure that their property was being protected and secure. So now, you know, you ask this question, well, you don't want to make people turn against the police. Well, you got to still think about the conditions. So now we want to bring up the video of the child. Well, look at the conditions of that child sitting outside in his pamper, exposed to the elements. Where were the parents? No parents was out there. Somebody thought that was a grown person in the back. That looked like another brother, may have been a sibling. But did you look at how the police responded? They laughed about it. They didn't take an opportunity to say, hey, young man, come here. We're your friends. We're the good guys. Hey, you want to play with my sirens? They laughed about it because they know this is going to be somebody that they could shoot later on. They already see, I mean, look, we could look at that little boy and those kids and tell what the future entails. But we still got to ask the question, why they feel like NWA? NWA made a song. They made a hit song. And it wasn't it wasn't out of fun. It was because of conditions that existed that nobody wanted to address. And to this day, people don't want to address the black codes, the peonage, the Jim Crow laws, LAWS. Somebody enforced Jim Crow laws. But we don't need to talk about slave patrol. We need to say it's not true. Oh, my bad. It's partially true. And even though it's partially true, he'll just get better on his own. We don't need to talk about it. Y'all hurting our feelings.
508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Gonna make my way around. Goddess, I think you had something. You was next, and then Ibrahim, and then we're gonna continue. I think with Ibrahim or Mr. Hicks. Oh, and Badger, yes, sir.
And Goddess.
One thing I wanted to one thing I wanted to mention is I wanted to bring up the fact that we all celebrate Juneteenth, right? That's the day we were supposed to be everything's supposed to be ratified and we were free, right? But we forgot that the 13th Amendment still, because that was the one which was supposed to abolish slavery. But what it did, it didn't abolish slavery. What it did, it changed it. It changed slavery into involuntary servitude. See, the punishment for the crime, like for example, in different states, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime where the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Founding fathers and slavery. I don't know how many men that are still serving jail time for marijuana, while now they got these multi-million-dollar corporations for marijuana. They out here making billions and millions out here for marijuana, and these people are in jail for either small use of recreational, because we already knew it was recreational all the way down. We used it for pain. We used it for other things. But now, medicinal, not just medicinal, but for all those different opportunities. So we are forgetting that slavery still. Why am I getting this background? I don't know. But slavery is still here. They just changed it. It's not accepted. Right now, they have pipeline to prison for our school now. You want to make something change, Paul? Here's the real. Look it up. School to pipeline prison.
Okay.
They have right now, instead of them investing in things regarding the children in our neighborhood or putting programs in our neighborhood where our kids can do something positive, They're spending $20 million on places to incarcerate them or to take them from their parents and still put them in there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. I know I said I'm gonna come to a few people. We got a few people that just called in. I want to respect of their time as well. Toya with a T. Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Well, good morning, y'all. How y'all doing?
Hey, doing good. Since we're talking about the police department and how they got their start, what's the origin of the police department? Toya, what do you say to that?
Oh man, how far back do you want to go? We want to go back to Egyptian days. We want to go back to the Roman soldier days. I mean, if you want to track down, the actual law and how they have people work and try to keep you in line. I mean, we can go back as far as the beginning of time when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna bring it on closer. We're gonna stay on where goddess is. And we're gonna start from the slavery days when they used to just have people just come chase us. We're gonna be specific.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then it wasn't about slavery, it wasn't about color, it wasn't about black in the Egyptian days. Anybody can get the business back then. But we're just gonna talk about us and how now the police department focuses specifically on us, how no matter what we got, unarmed or not, we still don't get justice. Like God has said, we electrocuted people we knew didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Black people.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to, the slaves didn't have no rights in prison from slavery days. You run away, hey, we coming to get you. And it hasn't changed at all. Even I just look at where, like we said, voluntary slaves. We're not free to do anything. We're free to do what they say. And if we violate they laws and rules, they're in trouble. And I mean, it's a tricky place because we need police, but we need police that's going to do their jobs.
Yeah.
We need police who's going to be fair across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think that we don't need them, because if you run up in my house, I'm gonna call the police.
Yeah.
And when they gotta come pick your body up, I'm gonna call the police too.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference in our community is the over patrolling, the over excessive abuse and things of that nature. So it doesn't work to our behalf. It reminds us and triggers those old slavery days ways where everybody else get to do things and we don't.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that God has just said, and I just called in and heard that last word. I'm with everything she said. That is absolutely right and true. But at the end of the day, what do?
Mm-hmm.
We know the police been like this since the 80s. What do we do? Why do we keep doing crimes? To get ourselves involved with them.
Mm-hmm.
We know that this is how it has been for what we want to say 400 years?
Yeah.
So why do we not ourselves in situations to be involved with these people and get caught up? Why do we still believe the police over our children when things happen? Why do we still send our kids to school with a lack of discipline and allowing them to get themselves in trouble where we're going to have interaction with these same police, these same rules that we've been struggling with since the beginning of time? So this is a twofold story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just about the police, it's also about the individuals and what we're doing as well. So we really have to be careful thinking or, trying to call out injustice when we're half the time not even just.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean, just being honest. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It may be a lot of people that's in there for selling drugs, but then we know selling drugs was wrong before we went there.
Mm-hmm.
These same police dragged us out houses, burned us, set us on fire. We already know what's going down when we deal with them. Why do we keep going to sell drugs? Why do we keep going to commit the crimes? Why do we keep putting ourselves in situations where that's the alternative? You know what I mean? So we got a lot of issues with our system in America. And law enforcement plays a huge part. But then what's the other part? And I think it's up to us to turn this thing around.
Absolutely. 508. Let me get the number one more time. 924-3521, 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We'd love to have your input. We're talking about police and the origin of the police department. Where did it start? Where did they get it started? Brother Pete, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
How y'all is these eyes in Georgia, we stuff like this, right?
Lord Jesus. Lord Jesus.
So how y'all live?
Yeah. Lord.
Oh, Pete, man, Pete.
Pete, let's talk about the police. Well, man, I'm at the mute you too, man. I don't know what the word. I don't know where in the world you going this morning. I'm at the mute you, man. Look, but Pete, let's talk about the origin of the police department, brother. Where did it start?
Historical research will show you that the police department in areas of the South, northern, southeast, they were created to protect property for business owners. There are areas slightly south of the northeast, in the east, that they were created to recapture runaway slaves. They were created strictly in the South to recapture runaway slaves. That's the origin of the police department. Now, when we look at present day police, we want to understand how things are set up. I'm just going to give a quick little brief draw, and like I say, this will turn into another. Some of these areas may touch into some other areas, and we'll have to double back at another time and give greater clarity. But when we look at law enforcement today, so we have the Constitution. We have 4 different constitutions. We have the organic, the original. We have the Commerce, Insurance Clause, Constitution, the Corporate Constitution. And that's pretty much what's in effect today. And under that Constitution, the statutes, the codes, the laws are actually corporate policy. And they're the rules and regulations for the employees of said corporation structures. So the police today are factually corporate policy enforcement officers, and they're effectually private security for the corporation that they are employed by, called the City of, which is incorporated. So when you look at the sheriff is the constitutional officer in the county, bound by the Constitution. Now, it should be the original Constitution. That authority still exists. But they have changed it and put us under a corporate policy constitution today. So it's slightly smeared and confused. So you have to know how to go in and rightly divide it. What authority are you going to deal with and address regarding any interaction with any of those entities? That's what needs to be understood about the general population today. So effectually, you will understand with some little light in-depth, not great, but little light in-depth research, you'll understand that today the police are effectually private security and they're corporate policy enforcement officers.
Wow. That's good. That's good, man. You put a lot out there just now, and like you said, it's a lot of stuff you put out there, brother. We ain't gonna be able to talk about all of that today, because you put so much out there. But right now, I want to go to Badger. Badger, what's on your heart, brother?
Systematic racism. It's that's what it all is. And pointing it out all the time. And there's many people that don't want to believe it, no matter how many facts are there. I probably will continue to get into arguments with the ignorant folks that think that it doesn't exist. So it's just one of those things of where I acknowledge the history, I see the history. What's the solution? How do we change it? How do we work on it? How do we change the narrative? And there's a bunch of different factors that play into that. Need to get rid of the racist police officers. Need to work on our communities. Need to make sure certain laws are being followed and implemented. And like there's we can learn the history all day long.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what part of America you look at, corporations, the greed, the slave patrols, there is systematic racism in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to me, the ones that are found to be that kind of racist or showing racism need to have their title taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a start.
Mm-hmm.
And it's man, I guess because I've been so involved in Native stuff and different topics among different groups of people that for me, the racism is there everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And when solutions are brought up, you know, accusations of whitewashing and things like that, I'm not denying anything that has happened. I know it's the truth. Matter of fact, I teach my kids that, and I teach other kids, and I teach adults, or do my best to teach adults. Some of them are just either, I swear they choose to be dumb. And it's until we as a human race can get on the same page and not just talk about history and be emotional about it, but look at history, take the lessons from it of how to be or not be, primarily not be, because that's most of the problems of today. Is people still want to behave the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to uproot an entire thought process. I mean, just
It's a lot, brother. It's a lot. It's a lot. Let me keep this thing going. I want to, we got a couple other people that called in. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. I think we have either VP or Friday. I don't know which one we have. Who we got this morning? I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
How you doing? I'm doing all right.
Good deal. We're talking about the origin of the police department. Where did it get its start?
The origin of police department, my understanding started when the troops from up north after the Civil War retracted out of the South. And then I don't remember what it's called. I think they were called like slave patrol or slave something in terms of
slave patrol.
Monitoring and apprehending slaves or whom they deemed to be a slave, even if they were free, to return them back to their owner, essentially. As much as I hurt to say it, it's just that, we were property and past and the highest commodity of, and that's why, because it was, I think, as it was stated already, protection of property. It was slaves were the most valuable thing to slave owners more than the actual goods that we were being labored to produce.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were in debt, they would be able to use slaves to help get themselves out of debt by leasing them out, or like mortgaging them out, or just selling them outright, so that they could then attain a higher money or get themselves out of debt. So the police was originated to help govern those that were escaping, those that were free, but again, they would try to re-enslave them. And from there it grew and has changed in terms of being supposed to be public protection. However, unless you revamp the entire foundation of it, you have what we've been dealing with, because the mentality in their training is very similar to that of its original state.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have what we see, people in the, not all, but people within the police force feeling justified and protected to then treat human beings that happen to have a different and darker hue as if they are still less than human. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, and unfortunately that's where we are today in terms of the injustice within the police department to the people.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna ask a question and then we're gonna go. We have Annette with us. I'm going to Annette next. Is it getting any better? Friday, is it getting any better? Are we in a better place right now in 2022? Are we in a better place?
I think that it is getting better. A lot of times it gets worse before we see that it is becoming better, but it's more eyes on, more people cannot hide from it. In terms of they were doing it day in and day out, especially in inner cities with no repercussions whatsoever. You know, there are at least now repercussions happening, even though there are small and few in between. More eyes are on, more things are in place, and I think it'll continue to get better, especially if we continue to unify and demand that they make the changes that we've been seeing so far.
Wow. Wow. Annette, good morning. Annette, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. I am so well. You know, this is a topic that really gets me crying. And it gets me crying because policing, all right? Everybody comes from a mother. Everybody comes from a father. And so there's ideology on both sides. There's ideology regarding defund the police. There's ideology regarding we need public safety. So now we come to, in 2022, having a public safety issue. And really, it's an issue that I think has to have more listening sessions about it, because 30, 40, 50 years ago, you know, the police used to be that community helper that was in the neighborhood, you know. Now, all of a sudden, you know, police are shooting young boys, 76 times, 60 times, or whatever, all for use of force. So they've had to create laws for use of force. So on the police side, you know, a lot of times they get administrative leave, they still get pay, right? Mm-hmm. And then on the human side of we the people, mothers cry because their sons are dead. And that's really all hard for me. You ask the question, is it getting better? Let me tell you, it will only get better when mothers and fathers sit down and really talk to their children about what it means to get to their purpose, right? Mm-hmm. Therefore, police don't even have to be engaged like that, right? Because we're those millionaires and we are skilled. And we go back to the being business owners. We go back to bartering. We go back to being that soul of America amongst all nations, because we are the consumers of the world. People get paid because, you know, of how we buy. So I will say, you know, I'll just land that plane there. Mm-hmm. You know, I cry on this issue.
Absolutely. Cassandra, what's on your heart?
Yeah, it's okay. Our subject is where did the police start, and I think we have pretty much, you know, we've talked about how it started. You know, I as most of you know, Mooresford Bridge, and like I said, when I talk about stuff, I talk from life experience. I can't do anything else. I got to do me, and everybody else do them. But the lynching that I direct, which is the only lynching reenactment in the world, people get upset, and I just said this the other day. Why are y'all doing a memo trying to remember that because it's our history. Because we need to go and parallel. You can look at what was happening back then and what's happening now. The lynching of the 4 Black people, the lynching in reenactments I do, that was 1946, after slavery, right? So it's after that time. But the results were the same. Black people were killed to try to control. And that is happening today. Power and control. So, you know, I know that people get upset, but I'm sorry. What it is what it is. Back then, it was about power and control. We got to remember that, and then we can move on. And what I say is that you can talk about healing, but healing comes through opening up something, talking about it. That's even when you say you have a fester, a big sore on your arm, leg, or whatever, right? That has become infected. What does the doctor do? They usually cut it open. They try to remove as much of the infection as you can, and then you apply the healing balm. But if we don't talk about it, there is no way. How do we get anywhere without talking about it? That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And that was a part of my point earlier. We have to have the dialogue. We definitely have to. Ibrahim, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah, you know, I want to know where she does that reenactment of 1946. Somehow in Georgia around about the same time.
Moore's Ford Bridge. Moore's Ford Bridge.
Moore's Ford Bridge. Was that in Georgia? Because Georgia had more second only in Mississippi.
Cassandra?
But anyway,
Monroe, Georgia. It takes place in Monroe, Georgia.
Yeah, all right. I knew that was in Georgia. We said 1946. The couple that was killed, the fluent Black couple. Yeah. But anyway, what I want to talk about, I think we forget when we talk about policing, we talk about, of course, what affected us. But generally in America, and it still is used. Now you tell them Appalachian folks up in here in North Georgia that the police is about killing Black folks, they would tend to disagree. They would tend to say, well, pro-white. And if, in my lifetime, since the 50s, I've seen the police used as a group of people to control the class consciousness that keep control over the poor, so the wealthy can live there, they can enjoy the wealth of the class. I was raised middle class. I didn't have a problem with police until I found out I was in segregated South, and the place that middle class Black couldn't go. And I learned that from the hard way. You know, we get the Black, we had the thing that we used to call the Black message. You know, people sit down with you, tell you about sex, the birds and the bees, and being Black. The other thing is, though, but I've seen how the police had killed or even wounded protesters, white protesters about the war in Vietnam. And I've seen poor white communities being harassed, and people of different sexual persuasions by the police force. So the police force inherently is not to protect the population, it's to protect a group of the population from another group of population. The laws are biased in its own respect. We have a nation of laws. We have a nation of laws that sometimes are biased and doesn't affect, are not applied to a certain group of people. So yes, the police force is a problem. Now, resolution. If you understand the problem, you should have a solution. And a few years ago, there was on Barack Obama, they came out with 21st century policing. And I was at several meetings, and we talked about that, and some meetings that were pro-Black, and meetings were pro-this and pro-that. But the police operate as a gangster group. They have people they have lobbyists. They have a lot of wealth. You know, they can protect police from the population of the people in the United States. They passed laws in 2019. A lot of people forgot that unfortunately John Lewis signed it. He would have been thrown in jail for the rest of his life if that law had been passed during the time they went across the Edmund Patterson Bridge. And that was Protective Service Act in 2019. Read that. And a host of blue laws that a lot of people were talking about years ago. We seem to forget it now. Now, these blue laws not only affect us, they affect us primarily. But these laws affect anybody that wants to go against the institution of the United States. If you go against it, like the protests were white and Black during the last couple of years. And, you know, you see what Trump did to the protesters. He actually made them just like, you know, that it's all right to kill protesters. It's all right when he went to go bring the Bible. these keys should show us that it's not just a black thing, it's a American thing. That anybody in America does not empower or have a difference from the institution, that you could be summarily killed and executed for just demonstrating your Second Amendment right. And I think that if we look at it like that, then we can come up with a solution. Now, me being a truck driver most of my life, you know, we had certain laws that affected us, that we had to be professional. We were trained to be professional. There were no such thing as an accident. It's called preventable and non-preventable. You know what I mean? So that means even if the person was in the wrong, right? That me being lawmaking, I could have prevented that accident. I would be liable for that. But we don't have that for other professional institutions. I think that we should look at police force to be professional, right? And then equally, we enforce laws, or either do what they're supposed to do, is for the serve and protect the people of the United States. Now, I think that that's more it than necessary to laws. Because when you come to the force law, you know better.
We got to move on, brother.
Guard in a prison.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got to keep it moving. Let me go to our brother Hicks. What's on your heart, brother?
Oh, wow. Yes. I'm just trying to get my thoughts. Got so many of them with the conversation. But I go back to when I was, the contrast when I was little, police that patrol in my city. There would be police that walked the beat, and it was the same police every day, all the time. They would talk to the adults who sat on the porch when it got hot, and just have conversation and walk through the hood. It's a different kind of feel in that policing. I think when I look at it, then I had this other case when I was in kindergarten. I was crossing the street, and I had to pee real bad, and the police officer that was directing traffic, he tried to stop me, but I ran anyway because I tried to tell him I gotta pee. He grabbed me by my collar, threw me up against the wall, made me stand there peeing on myself while all the other kids were going home. Now the two contrasting situations created a kind of difference, something funny inside, and I didn't know exactly how to feel about police. But I understand what everybody's saying, and I think for those people online who aren't from our experience of our hue of color, it's hard to really understand how sometimes when we express our perspective on these things, there's emotion involved. That's because it's personal. It's personal to us. It's personal to our ancestors. So in order to have an open dialogue with other folks of the other hue, all human, the human family, we don't know that yet. You got to sort of expect for us to get that out of us. There is, I mean, when we look at the history and look at these documents, I looked at the one you were talking about earlier, and it was sort of slanted in my sense, but there are a lot of other good ones on there. Because when it's straight, it balances the good with the bad. It makes you see honestly that it was never always one way. There were always good and bad in the people you met, officers, courts, judge, and all that. So I understand that one call was called, man, from his perspective, because he just don't feel it like we feel it. He can't feel it.
That's good. That's good.
But that's why I say great conversation. I appreciate your skill in narrative. It's a different stuff you do well, bro.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you, sir. Definitely appreciate you. Curtis, what's on your heart?
You know, I'm just sitting here and I'm listening with the utmost admiration for those who are actually doing and willing to speak out against the tyranny that we have happened over the last 30 years. I'm in awe. We know that my leaders who have been murdered and killed did not die from nothing. Their living was not in vain. Because the fact that we can have this conversation in an open and public forum says that what they fought for came to fruition.
Yes, yes.
You know, I just had to talk to one of my youth participants yesterday in reference to just that. and we started talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, I said, you know, when you really think about it, I said, our leaders from Dayton all the way back to Nat Turner, Denmark, BC, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm Little's father, Minister Little, Malcolm, Martin, Jesse, my man in Mississippi, the first one they killed. Oh my God, his name is escaping me right now. They killed him with a hoagie in his head. I said, you know, they all had to die so that the Minister Louis Farrakhan and those that understand the plight against Black America could actually speak and speak without fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they may try it, but at this point, if you pay attention to what's going on, they cannot publicly kill a Black leader anymore. Not physically. They can't do it. They can't do it. Black America is not going to accept that. And I feel good about saying that. So, you know, you can utilize the police department to brutalize us. You can, you can do the Nazi Gestapo tactic, and a tactic that's going on since in modern history as well as in ancient history. The Romans did it, the Germans did it, the Bolsheviks did it, the Vikings did it. If you get control of the police departments, then you can control the local community and our society. So that has been the push. That has been the initiative. We all know that the police departments and the judge and the judicial system itself was bombarded with Klan members. And it's time for us to start writing legislation that says if this is what you represent, you do not meet the criteria for those who need to carry out the law.
Good deal.
It is time as a people, when we start looking at candidates for police officers, we need to start looking at their Facebook pages. We need to start looking at their Instagram pages. We need to start looking at their Twitter pages. And if they have anything that says they cannot fairly and justly carry out the law that and serve, I'm landing the plane now. If they have anything on any of those pages that says that they cannot fairly and non-biasedly carry out the obligation of protecting and serving a community because of beliefs and or social norms, then they should be disqualified to work in those positions.
Good deal.
It's just that simple.
Good deal. Got to keep it moving, Curtis. Got to keep it moving. Let me go to Willa. Willa, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Raheem. Good morning, Morning Glow. Good morning.
Willa, we're talking about the origin of the police department. What's on your heart?
You know, that I believe already that the origin was already addressed, Raheem. But I want to say this. I tried to call my nephew. He's a police officer. He's been on the police force, so I want to think about maybe 18 years. And from time to time, we have a conversation. And he told me, like, in the beginning, he said, you know, you guys looking on the outside. He said, but in the beginning, they had to fight against each other as police officers. And I was like, and, you know, and he was talking about the culture, the colors. You know, white people always thought that they were better in the police force. I'm just saying what he said. He said I had to fight for my job with my own coworkers. So I understood that. But now he told me today, he said, Auntie, he said, I go out every day in this world and I pray that I come back to my family. He said, I'm trying to represent people that don't even care about a law that I'm trying to enforce. He said, and not only that, he said that we got a mayor now that tells us now to not to kind of protect ourselves, that if somebody's shooting because they don't want to show up in the newspapers again that a police officer did this, or they have to talk about why they killed this or why they killed that. So what they're telling them to do is to do different protocol. I wanted him to address that because I understood what he was saying, because now they're just hiring more police officers and they're taking away the qualifications so they can get more police officers. And I said, wow. And so he was kind of giving me some insight on what's going on in law enforcement. So it seems to me like, you know, I think, you know, Rico used the word before, distraction.
Yeah.
That it's become a distraction from what the real root cause is. It's like a Band-Aid. You're trying to cover up something instead of addressing, like you said earlier. If we talk about it, if we address what the problem is, we could probably look at it and try to come to some kind of solution.
Exactly.
But you can't come to a solution when you're constantly being distracted by a human being whom you put into office and they do something stupid, like shooting at a man 90 times and he gets shot 65. So
wow.
We're living in that kind of world right here.
Wow. Wow.
We gotta go towards what we really know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We're living among the wheat and the tare. I'm gonna put it out there. Amen.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Paul, talk to me, brother.
Yeah. There's so many comments that are really good. I have to comment on what Hicks said though, and yeah, I'm not black, so I know I don't have a black experience, and I know I don't get stereotyped the same way. You know, I have brown skin, so I get some stereotyping, but it's not the same. I realize that, and I respect everyone's opinion, even though we may disagree on some details. I want you to know I'm not diminishing anything anybody's saying at all. I just see things slightly different from my point of view. I posted something in the chat from a Gallup poll in 2001. They polled a whole bunch of people. Black Americans, 70% of Black Americans in 2001 thought that race relations were good or very good. That number is now 33%. So, you know, things are getting worse. Certainly, you know, the Republicans play a role in that, with Trump and all this stuff. But I also believe that some of the narratives that come out also are harmful. Like when you demonize white people, not you, but you know, when anybody demonizes white people, that is also harmful. When you compare modern day police to slave catchers, I think that is also harmful. Maybe true that the origin comes from there, but you know, how can police work in communities if they're just absolutely hated? So that's all I wanted to say. I have a sick dog I have to take to the vet. I've unlimited love for you guys. I've been listening to this show for 2 years, and I don't want you to think that I think I know better than anybody. I just have a different perspective.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you, brother.
Hey, Paul, before you leave, I got a question.
Okay, just jump in there with you.
With some of the situations that you believe, do you not think that they don't have a dog in the fight? Do you not think that? Because when I grew up, our police officers came out and played basketball with us. Our police officers came and engaged in our community and talked to our community. But these police officers that we have today, and I'm not saying all of them, but when you have your own black police officers within the police department that's suing the police department for racism, because that's what's going on across America.
Okay, let him respond. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. I mean,
hold on, goddess.
Yeah, I think you know, well, you know, people throw that word like community policing around, and that you can mean different things to different people, but there are definitely data points. One data point showed that white officers were 5 times more likely to use deadly force than black officers in a certain community. And, you know, certainly you want people who have respect for the community. If people are walking around racist and, you know, thinking that they're going to, you know, they're like a military force, and obviously you got to have people who care about their community. And if they don't, that's got to change. You have to fix that. I don't know who has the answer. I think Captain Dennis had some great answers the other day on Saturday, and I'm sure we all have different ideas about that. But yeah, I have no quarter or sympathy for racists whatsoever.
Good deal. Good deal. Let's keep this thing going. Let me go to Annette. Annette, what's on your heart? Rico, coming to you next, brother.
What I say is, you know, the sister brought it really home, is that, you know, I believe that the police officers used to be those community helpers, right? And now it's really something different. Everybody's crying racism, defund the police, and we have to come to a different paradigm. I think the paradigm is, how do we as parents, right, really educate our children? If you get stopped by the police, put your hand on the steering wheel, you know, do the right things. And, you know, Sandra Bland, the police officer told her to, you know, put out her cigarette, right? And so there's some simple things that I believe on the other side. I'm not going to just put the onus on the police officers. We have to put the onus on people, period. People, period, in what happens, because they are paid to do a job too, just like a CEO is paid to do a job too. So we have to really look at that and then govern ourselves really accordingly. Because when you look at the prison population, if you look at the prison population, there are a lot of people in prison that should not be in, right? And there are people in prison who did do some things, right? And so what we have to get to a populace where, guess what? Life is valuable. Life is valuable. So go on to get to your purpose. I don't know what to say. We can't always just put the onus on one side. We have to make sure that our families are whole, you know, our communities are whole, that we're having recreation programs for our kids at such a young age, so that they don't go into that particular life of debauchery or, you know, get caught into things that they should be doing. Because out here in the streets, let me tell you, the streets are real. The streets are not kind, and out in there, the streets are not kind.
Exactly. Rico, talk to me, brother.
You know, you have those situations where you do have an opportunity to talk to your children and teach them how to comply. But then, you know, that Sandra Bland situation, you know, he didn't have a right to tell her to put her cigarette out. Because that's what it all, you know, really escalated from there. So it gets to a point where you say, well, what, you just supposed to just obey authority and let them abuse their authority? No, sometimes as a human being, you're still going to put your foot down. Now, this when it comes in to the point that as a black person or a white person, how you going to be treated when you are confronting them with the fact that you have the right to smoke your cigarette in your car. But I asked them, why you pulling me over? You know what I'm saying? So that onus is still on that cop. You know what I'm saying? I think that was a bad example. Well, it was a good example. I ain't gonna criticize that example, but I just look at that totally different.
You better not, bro. Thank you.
I don't. Well, you know, I'm gonna hit you with something anyway, because I'm trying to find out who won that tennis match between you and Raheem. You talked all that smack about it. How bad did you beat? I ain't trusting you too much right now. We're gonna deal with that later on.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna deal with that later on. All coronavirus. I give you that coronavirus. I get it was COVID season. But you know, the thing is like I mainly was hitting on this because this is what the topic started out at. If I put it out there that today's police are equivalent to slave catchers, that is the wrong narrative I want to give. I was mainly letting people know that this is what the police department derived from slave patrol. And I think it was pretty obvious that's what I meant. you know. And so you listen to what Willa said, and her brother, he let you know what the dilemma is. As somebody that believes in the American system and justice in the American way, and you know what, I want to be a policeman, because the police, they protect and serve, and they bring order, and they stop the bad guys. And then all of a sudden they get in here and they find out the good old boy system still exists. And they might witness a little disparity in how they treat people, you know, fellow cops. They might go to the shooting range and see a whole bunch of mug shots of nothing but black people, but they know it's some white criminals out there. And for some reason, it did seem like that they noticed this cop seemed to be a little bit more cordial, or give this white person the benefit of the doubt. But then when he come across these people, it's automatically aggressive and suspicious, untrusting, subconscious behavior. He might be in denial. But the thing is, we want to fix and heal these wounds that we say are untrue. Oh, no, partially true. I forgot they're partially true now. And then at the same time, we want to heal wounds without acknowledging that the wounds are there. We want to get rid of an infection, but not acknowledge that the infection exists, or that it started from this. You know what? If I started getting cancer from smoking cigarettes, or if I started being obese from overeating, I can't sit back and wonder where all my illnesses come from and then say, it ain't the overeating. It's just because I was born thick bone. It's in my family. I'm big bone.
Now bring me 2 more large pizzas.
You overeating.
Yep. Now bring me 2 more large pizzas. Ain't no problem. Bring me 2 more large pizzas. Ain't no problem. Bring me 2 more large pizzas and 2 liters of soda.
So when you ask yourself, why does this infection exist? Why do these kids at no older than 3 or 4 years old out there with diapers on feel comfortable recognizing police officers with guns and swinging on them? F you, F you, F you.
Yeah.
What created those conditions? Why does that infection exist? And then you go back and you find out. And you can't be ashamed, because if you, like I said, if you don't want to acknowledge that's where it comes from, then ain't no need to try to think of a solution, because that's going to remain the good old boys.
Good deal. Good deal. We got Navy with us. Good morning, Navy. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, y'all. I finally got to break away for a minute. How y'all doing?
Hey, doing good. Doing good. Navy, we're talking about what is the origin of the police department. What is the origin of the police department? What do you say it is?
Oh, Jesus.
You weren't ready for that one, huh?
No, not at all. Not at all. But interesting topic though. I've kind of been tuning a little in and out in between work, and I think what is piggybacking off of what Mr. Rico has already said. I mean, like he's already given the order, understood as to how the police came about, which was the night watches, and then that's where the police origin understood was the slave patrol, slave catchers. And then he got, which I appreciate because I didn't know that part of it. So for me, that's what I've always understood. Well, let me take that back. Let me not say always, because I was very much a whole grown, realized, knew that part of history, which is a problem within itself, that I was understood the origin as to where these topics or these things were rooted from.
That's good. That's good. Let me see where we're gonna go next. We got I told you to see. Badger, you want to say something, Badger?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, I was making the comment where we were talking about origins and things like that, and I was also looking into what Public was talking about. And you asked a question earlier on, you know, are we in a better place today? And my perception is no.
Yes.
Looking at how all the social media, all the things that are being talked about once again, you know, now women have been losing their rights again. So we're reverting in some instances. And blame is being thrown around at each other.
Wow.
You know, a lot of those conservative, primarily Republicans and things like that, are blaming things on the black people, or the gay community, or the Democrats, or all of the above. And you know, and then you got the Democrats blaming this person and this person, and this group blaming this person and this person. And I'm gonna kind of give a rundown to a conversation that I had about last Saturday, after you guys, you know, went and did y'all's thing. After we had that discussion, and I joined the other group, and this person was a Trump supporter, and said, and a few of them, you know, very much supported the tariff that Trump implemented on China, right? I'll tie it all in. Just give me a moment. And I did a ton of research on it. It wasn't hard to find. And I went, all right, so let's say Intel, right, can make a piece. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can make a piece of this microchip, right? And they ship it over to Taiwan and China, where we know a lot of companies over there use kids. Yet this tariff increased the cost of sending it back over here, which means that that company that paid less to ship it than they are receiving it are now affecting all of us due to inflation. So if you take that concept and apply it to mass media, apply it to the police departments, apply it to some of the comments that's been made, the teaching of certain mentalities of what worked at one time are going to come back up when people are faced in a dire situation. Would you agree with that?
Could be, yes.
So with all the racial issues, class issues, money issues, healthcare issues that really haven't got any better in the last, 30 years, where are we really heading?
Wow. It's good. Toya with a T. What's on your heart, sis?
You know what? In a lot of ways, hey, Badger is right. A couple of things. So it's unfortunate, but the same things that happen to black people just does not happen to white people. The only thing that white folks can do, if they get their rights violated, they turn it up. I've seen white folks turn up with the police the ways we never could. But neither here nor there. We're going to leave that system alone. It is what it is. We don't want to acknowledge it, but black people know what it is, even if they don't want to face it.
Exactly.
But for two,
come on.
We remember Christopher Dorner. Rico throw this up all the time, and we talked about it before. So either you comply or die.
Yep.
And that's control. And if you're a human that feels like and violate a human being, that they don't do what you say, you get the killer, then that's where it makes it a problem, and it's wrong act. It's the human. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the police. And it just so happens to happen to a lot of black people. So we have to fix that. But like you said, listen to Christopher Dorner. So if your nephew got on the police force and he had to fight like hell, so which did he do? Did he change the police force or did he comply? So now he got to do what they do in order to be accepted, that pressure, that peer pressure. And if so, it's okay too. Because we always comply when we go in line with corporation rules, corporate rules, we act like we can't break. Neither here nor there again. This thing goes so many ways that we keep forgetting about people. Have a lot of things got worse? Yes, they have. It's a lot more black on black crime. You're you're right. It ain't just a whole bunch of white people killing black people. They done found a way to mass manipulate all of us to be distracted and not focus on it at hand. And now we all just killing each other. But let me tell you what I found in these last 4 years. I found a God that has delivered me from a few things, in spite of what is going on in this world. And that's what we lack in.
Mm-hmm.
We come on. All these things in the name is on all the time. We keep forgetting. We got God no more. We still trying to use our own power to fix this stuff. We trying to solve things that been going on since the beginning of time.
That's right. That's right.
And the problem is that people ain't got God.
That's right.
We talk to the with whatever it is. We can talk every day. It's only going to be a topic until the individuals in this world refine who God is. That's the only reason why I'm saying that because I was one of them devils. I was out there robbing, cheating, stealing, manipulating, just like them. But I got delivered. And constantly getting delivered every day. So we're gonna talk about, hey, I'm starting a new show, talk about some old too, right? And we're gonna bring solutions.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm always gonna bring it back to the number one solution, God.
Exactly.
God.
Exactly.
God. Go ahead.
Brother,
Go ahead, sis.
Brother Pete, talk to me, brother. Kurt, come to you next.
I need to yield my 2-3 minutes back to Toya. She wasn't done.
Mm-hmm. I think she was.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And we really gonna give you them 3 minutes. So listen. I remember because of the things in life, it's pressure knowing, what they do to black people. Oh, you can't do this because you're black. Oh, but you got to learn this. You got to learn that. So I dealt with it by being a thief at times, manipulating my own black men at times, manipulating the system, stealing, cheating, doing everything I knew Martin Luther King died for me not to do. Malcolm X died for me not to do. JFK got caught up in, even if it wasn't all the way right. It still contributed to the embedded of my race. And I did the exact opposite. I'm taking responsibility on me, not the white man right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And God had to deliver me from that. Because I was a destruction and an infiltrator to my own people, to my own self. It had nothing to do with it. Even though there are a lot of things on the outside that has a lot of influences. There are a lot of things that had influences from black men upon me. Matter of fact, I felt like the bottom of the gum of the shoe because it seemed like everybody wondering why we got attitude, but everybody want to boo-boo on us. Mm-hmm. Everybody want to cause us extra problems, extra headaches because we black women anticipating the anger. But neither here nor there. Again, I've been delivered. And then through the course of this, you know what? I found out what the problem with my black man is. I hate to have to say it, y'all. It was me.
Wow. Wow.
Because the next thing God was the black woman breaking them down. I had to be delivered from that. Telling him what he ain't, even though I know he didn't meet the standard. He didn't do the same things I didn't do. He didn't finish school, I didn't finish school. But I'm dragging him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I can't run smarter and faster, I still ain't help him none. But God delivered me from that. So again, every time we talk about what's going on with people, man, I just fall back and shake my head. I say it don't make no difference what we talk about. We back not talking about God. As long as we get on that point, that's why we all the plans that we talking about right now ain't gonna work. Because if he ain't with us, then who gonna be against us? Because the word says.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's what's wrong with us, you know. And how do we fix it? It's hard to tell because God had to reach down and grab me, man, because I did not know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's how I was supposed to be, angry, tough, you know. Hey, I've been raped, I've been molested, I got to be strong, I got to do everything myself. And since I got to do everything myself, I'm black man, you were supposed to protect me and do this and be stronger than me? I'm going to really dog you out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Man, please, listen, we all out of line.
Mm-hmm.
We all out of line. Every time we talk something about somebody else and don't talk about our own selves, get a line.
Mm-hmm.
We see what our kids be doing, our brothers be doing, our mothers be doing, our fathers be doing, and then we take it up as culture. But no, it's individual personal responsibility that we lack in here. And then now we're passing it on to kids. And now our girls walking around thinking they got an attitude that they're on 12.
Mm-hmm.
We so lost. We so lost. But okay, We got to get back to God. He's the only one that can deliver us at this point. Because this is what we do with it. This is what humans do with it. When we put our hands on it, this is the message we came up with. Talking about we don't need him. I can do it myself, Lord. SWAT. I don't hear nothing. You ain't real. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. This is the mess we got in. So until people understand and open up themselves and understand we need God back because we doing too much for our own with our own power.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be messed up, man.
Absolutely. Let me go right now. We got a lot of people I want to touch. We only got a few more minutes before we get out of here. Let me go back to Willa. Willa, what's on your heart?
Come on, Toya. All we need now is the trustees to come to the fore, but let's take up the collection. Come on, Toya. If that girl wasn't talking about a solution out there, that was the solution right there. But she's so right. She's so right. Acceptance is what we're missing from individuals. Responsibility and taking accountability is what we're missing from our own human race. Ooh, all I can do is just say, amen, Toya, amen, amen, amen. I'm through, Raheem.
That's it. Let me go back to our Cassandra. Cassandra, what's on your heart, sis?
I'm good. I think we've covered some really good points, and I just hope that we just remember. And I want to say to Paul, I know he got off, that I appreciate him, and I appreciate Badger because it takes courage, and it really does, to come on here and some of the topics that we have sometimes, you know, it may seem like attack, but it's not. And I thank them for coming on and being open and transparent, and sometimes taking a little heat.
Yeah.
But nobody can know what we feel like as Black people with what we go through. So I love them. I appreciate them. But unless you're, and Badger can, because his people have gone through a lot, but unless your race has been through what we've been through, you have no idea what it feels like. None at all.
Exactly. Rico?
I'm done.
You know, Badger just put in the group, in the private chat, that we are all responsible for correcting the wrong teachings. And I definitely agree with that. But at the same time, we don't have a right to come in and tell somebody they're wrong. Or that they are not true when it's true. See, that's what this started from yesterday. I made that comment. Somebody came in and said it's not true. So if you ain't coming to correct the wrong, but you just coming to put your narrative without being open-minded enough to listen, then we don't need you. Because that yesterday, this didn't even have to go there. This conversation didn't have to go there, but it all started from somebody saying that me saying that it was rooted in slave patrol and slave catching. That's not true. Now we know it's true. And so, you know, man, this solution thing, that is a way of actually getting a solution by acknowledging what causes this systemic behavior that continues to happen. You know, Paul put the post up about the Gallup poll. 70% of Black people thought that race relations were favorable in the United States. That's what it said. I said they had a positive view.
Yeah, back in 2001.
21 years later, it dropped by 37%. I imagine with every Philando Castile, you lost 1%. With Eric Garner, you lost 1%. With Trayvon Martin, you lost another 1%. With Charlottesville, you lost another 1%. With Dylan Roof, you lost another 1%. And guess what? They realized then that we got bamboozled again. It ain't go nowhere. You see all them white boys up in Charlottesville? They said you would not replace us. It was a bunch of them. And they still getting together. What they call themselves, them boys they called last week, the Patriot whatever, Patriot something, Patriot Front. Oh, they organized. They still fall in line. I mean, very organized, well organized, structured. They didn't have to do a lot of organizing. No, all they had to do was just fall in line with the ideology that's been there.
Exactly.
But we have to acknowledge and realize that it exists. So that's what happened. Yeah, 70% of the people thought race relations were good and looked at it positively. But now, after you see every Ahmaud Arbery, 1%, George Floyd lost another 1%. Now we're down to 33% of people still lost, thinking that we are in a positive place. But that's what happened.
And still on the decline. Yeah.
People woke up. That's what happened. So if you want to ask the question, what was that culture there? Did this just start up? Nah. It evolved and hid, and then it reared its ugly head weekly and monthly with 60 shots and 76 shots and knees on the neck. And that is the reality. And that culture and that desire and that exists right there, that comes from somewhere. It's subconscious, unconscious.
And that's why I asked the question earlier, who set the table?
I'd really like to add in on that.
Somebody had to set the table. Somebody had to set the table. And for the table to be set, that's why people came to the table. But the table had to be set. Go ahead, Batch.
So I made a comment in our chat of an experience I had right on my front porch by one of those door-to-door people. Which, if I remember correctly, it's a Baptist church about 25 minutes from me. And he said he presented himself as the preacher, the head preacher of his church. We started having a discussion, and he sat there and told me how he was a born-again Christian. He, was a racist at one point, and now he's a preacher because he was born again. Yeah, right after telling me all that, because I was asking him his views on race and, Native American belief and, the issues of today, just having an open conversation. Then he proceeded to tell me how it's okay to have slaves as long as they're treated fairly, because that's what the Bible says. So when you start, that's why I was trying to mention earlier, when you're talking about, the white mentality of where things have gotten to today, unfortunately, you need to talk about religion. That's where it comes from. When I was talking about that woman that I was having that discussion with Trump and the Native American history and things like that, and how when the white settlers came over to take Comanche land, you want to know what her comment was?
What's that?
Well, they were killing us, so it was very Christian to slaughter them all.
Wow.
See, that's what, when I'm having to deal with white conversations to share knowledge about the systematic racism that exists and how other races have been treated and things by white folks, those are the thoughts I have to combat every single time. It stems from a religious evil teaching.
Good. Okay. And that may be true. That may very well be true. But let me keep this thing going. We got 6 minutes. Let me go to Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks be shocked every time I come to him. He said, "Oh, whoa, oh, okay. Mr. Hicks, what's on your heart, brother?"
Wow. Wow. Good conversation. I don't know. I'm just overflowing with it. Listen, there are so many different ways to look at history. I mean, not just the history of the world, but history of a person you know. It's like the sister that talked. I mean, she hit her on the head, and she said it in her way. But it's a bottom line. Everything is about a spiritual quest. Because in spite of what's going on around us, and there's a lot of things going on around us. New elections come up. A lot more things going to happen. They're going to really plan the race thing for sure. They do it all the time. But you got to find a way to connect with the spirit inside yourself that it don't rock you, that you become a hater, that you become revengeful, and that you get pulled on with the crowd, like the crowd, the mob. Whatever the reason, you're running in the street, tearing down stuff. I experienced that as a young kid in Newark. That stuff is terrifying. And I in spite of all that, listen, I'm a harmless man, peaceful man. But if we didn't have police, I'd be armed all the time.
Wow.
And not just from quote white people, from people.
Yeah.
My own people.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
And I pray, keep my heart soft, Lord. Keep me being humble, keep me, because we're all gonna leave here. I want to leave here right. I don't want to be a killer. I don't want to kill anybody more. Period.
Exactly.
Love.
And Mr. Hicks, I'm gonna tell you something, Mr. Hicks. You gonna stop being shocked when I come. I have to come to you a little bit more because you got to stop being shocked when I come to you now. You gotta stop that, man. Okay. Maybe I gotta come to you a little bit more. Yes, sir. Brother Pete. Now we always talk about Pete. Are you there? Pete, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We talk about people that say that they don't like hate and they combat hate and stuff like that, but is in some instances do a person sometimes become that very thing that they hate and how they deal with other people?
Yes, that can happen. Remember our elder brother Martin Luther King said, don't become what you hate.
Yes.
In spite of what we're confronted with and what we're dealing with, if it's aspects of it that you just do not like, then make sure that those qualities are not found in you. So that's a heart condition for man. And our princess Sister Toya already let us know that in order to get those heart conditions worked out, we got to go to the creator of the heart, who's the orchestrator and the Alpha Omega, the creator of that arena, and can give us perfection and full insight in how to control the internal, not the external, but the internal, the inner chambers of your spiritual heart, your soul, your spirit, if you would. So that's a whole nother draw.
Yes, sir.
That we would need to get on. In the pureness unadulterated of us being beings, right? You've heard me come on here multiple times and spell out differences in ethnicities and cultures. I don't do that to offend anybody. I do that so that we can have an open dialogue about the truth.
Yeah.
Because when we can just strip down naked and deal with what is factually true, now we're starting to have a real conversation. That's the real motivation. I don't feel that I'm better than nobody. Okay? I'm competing with myself. And I'm actually encouraging all of you to perfect yourself and be your full self and your full potential talents and abilities as well. And I'm hoping that if you're younger than me, certainly I want to see you do something that I couldn't even conceive. Otherwise, I don't see us making progress. But in a perfect world, right? That's what we and not even really just a perfect world, but in our natural creation, unadulterated. I think that's what we are.
Exactly.
What happens is a perversion of life comes in. Somebody get touched, somebody get mistreated, somebody wasn't hugged, somebody was hugged too much. I mean, somebody was hungry. Here you go. You have a little more, I got a little less, and we go from being a beautiful creation, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years down the line, we got full devil terrorists, murderers, psychopaths, that we can't even identify as human beings. And it's all because of, the interactions that have taken place. And I don't want to draw too much, but when initially you asked the question about the police, how was the origin, blah, 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 blah. Listen, do your little light Google search, it'll tell you, but do some in-depth research and you'll definitely find the factual truth. But the fact of the matter is this: we can't have a system that says it orchestrates the adjudication of right and wrong with an established process of procedures that are called laws, rules, statutes, and codes. And then we apply them differently to the overall consumer citizen and the populace in one land. That's not a structured law system that rightly divides between right and wrong. Well, why would you make that statement? How can you say that? I disagree. You would never come up with a concept called qualified immunity unless you know there are grievous wrongs, infractions, injuries, harm, damage being done, and you do not want to be held accountable for doing it. So the fact that we have a law established in this land called qualified immunity, covering elected officials, covering the judiciary, covering law enforcement, it's covering elected officials, all in this arena. All these people charged in these different areas of key function of this society and grave responsibility in this society. And then they give them a law that says, oh, you messed up, don't worry about it, we're going to protect you. They can't do nothing about it. That substantiates with a notary seal stamp of truth from God that you know you are doing wrong. And you do nothing to change your untoward way.
Good deal. Good deal.
Qualified immunity, aka privileges to get away with things that other people can't.
Now I gotta go to my amen corner because I got a sister Annette. When she hears something, she gonna say amen. Now she go amen. So Annette, what's on your heart, sis? Annette, you there?
Hey, I was just on mute. I was just on mute because I was like, hey, let's just go into prayer.
There you go.
And let's just go into prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all the people who have been on this line today to give solutions. God is our all in all. That's the number one solution. It is, because it drives nations to do the best for the kingdom of God. That's what I will say.
Good deal. Good deal. Let me see. Man, we got a lot of people here. I want to touch a few more. We only got a few more minutes. Actually, we overtime already, but I want to touch a few more people before we get out of here. What am I next? I hadn't heard from Goddess in a minute. Goddess, what's on your heart, sis?
Hey, Brother Pete just put it out there. Qualified immunity is everything. And until we get rid of that, when it comes to police department, that is something to making everybody accountable. So you can't make me accountable if you're not going to be accountable. That's just what it boils down to it. And then when it goes down to our parents making our children accountable, well, a lot of these children don't have parents. And a lot of them are not raised. So you can't go back to that one. You can't go back to it. Because I was raised, but there's a difference between being raised and growing up. And see, we don't have, a lot of kids don't have parents.
Guys, let me be humorous with you for a second. You ready? What's the difference?
Yeah,
what's the difference in being raised and like they say down here in the South, being reared? What's the difference?
I don't know about the reared part, because
that's
to me,
a
reared
country
and
saying.
being raised were the same thing. But growing up and being reared is two different things. And being reared is where you have a parent basically teaching you laws. And I'm not saying laws, but like chores, how to respect animals. You having to feed your animals, giving your dogs at an early age so you can learn how to respect, feed, knowing that another life is dependent on you to take care of responsibilities, clean your room, do certain things, be in by street lights come in, certain things, sit down and pray, do your homework, dinner time, after you get through dinner time, you got to wash the dishes. Just certain things. There's a difference between being raised. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. There's a lot of different things between, if that's about being raised as well as being reared. But when you just growing up, you doing whatever you want to do, how you want to do it, because there is no mother and daddy to sit here and tell you that they love you, whoop your butt, and in the same token tell you, hey, I love you, but I don't want you out here doing what you need to be out here hanging out with that person that mean you no good.
That's good.
And that's
good.
what our community needs. We need
now,
to have that. We need to go back into that. But it's kind of hard right now because the grandmas can't even sit on the porch and watch the people out here and make sure they don't get scared.
Let me find my mute button, because Goddess ain't gonna stop. Lord Jesus, Goddess, we gotta go now. I want to touch a few more people. Good Lord, Goddess. Goddess, boy, she went from first to fifth, boy. Good Lord. Cassandra, let me come to, because watch out. I hope Goddess ain't still talking. Let me see if she's still talking. No, she ain't still talking. Woo, Goddess, you got on the road there, sister. God almighty. That's all I can say. That's all I can say is that God almighty. Cassandra, what's on your heart?
Everything has been said, I think, on this subject.
Cassandra, you just as country as I am. Now let me ask you this. What's the difference between raised and being reared? You just as country as I am, you know.
Well, no, what area of the country you from? That's the only difference. What area of the country you from?
Got you. Got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this has been a great conversation. Rico, man, I see you over there, brother. What's on your heart?
No, man, I'm just laughing, man. About you didn't get a chance to get on to them other people because she got it going, man. She was on a roll. But man, this is an awesome topic, man. This was an awesome topic. I think we got some things cleared up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably got a few more people you can go to if you, Curtis them or whatever. I mean, you know.
Man, look at man. I've been sitting here 3 hours, brother. We better go upstairs. I got to get.
Hey, I thought you got started 20 minutes late today, man.
Watch your mouth. Rico, what's going on at 3 o'clock today?
If you missed today's show and would like to see, hold on. Would like to see the rebroadcast in its entirety, you can tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.dkmmediagroup.com.
You ain't expect that one coming back at you. I hit the tennis ball right back to you. What Willa? Willa!
Come on, Raheem.
Come on now, Willa. Are you ready?
Come on, Raheem. Let's go. Let's go.
You sure you're ready?
I am so ready. I am so ready, Raheem.
Well,
let's go to the throne of grace this morning.
Well, Willa.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Father God in heaven, Lord, we thank you. Father, we're coming to your throne this morning boldly and with confidence. Not only with confidence, but with expectation. Father, we just thank you so much for what you do, but we're standing on your word. At the end of the day, Lord, we are trusting you to make the right decision in our lives, oh Lord. Father, soften those hearts that are hardened, Lord, and open up their minds to the truth. Father, I believe that you can do it, Lord. Father, I believe that you would do anything but fail us. And Father, I'm asking, oh Lord, that you touch each and every last one that's on this line. Touch them in a mighty way, Lord. Father, show up in their life that they'll know that it was only you that did it. Father, I know you're going to do it. Father, I thank you so much for this show, Lord. Thank you for Raheem and his family, Lord. Keep protecting him and allow him to be successful on this show. Father, we thank you so much. We give you the honor, the glory, and the praise. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah.
Rico, you all right, ain't you, Rico?
I love it, man. I love it, man.
Anybody got anything before we get out of here?
Hey, if God scares you, try good.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. Man, with that being said, it is now 10:09. Oh, Lord. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I wanted to tell everybody that the repast, the homegoing for the young lady that we donated to is today. I'm actually doing the eulogy, and I ask you guys to please pray my strength in the Lord and for the family. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good deal. Good to make sure y'all do that. Take a moment to say a prayer for our sister. Take a moment to say a prayer. I ain't gonna tell you who and how to pray or nothing like that. But if you could take a moment, and I'm gonna do it, and I want you all to do it as well if you all don't mind doing so. Rico, you can say how to pray. You say, Rico, Jesus weep, Jesus wept. Hey, man, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us, man. And I want to thank you for allowing DKM Media Group and Associates and the Morning Glow for being a part of your day. It is now 10:10. You're about to exit the Morning Glow. But before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug. Because you never know, it could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. And then we shine some of this light on you from the Morning Glow. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in, and let your light so shine. If you get an opportunity, Give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? Have a great day, and please, please, please take care of each other. Love you. Have a great day.